My boyfriend, M30, won't fully commit unless we have a baby, F30. I, F30, already have a child and my boyfriend who I have been with for a year and a half, M30, first said that me and my child were enough for him. He has now decided he wants a child of his own. It is not easy for me to have another for health reasons, and I'm not sure if I even want another after the trauma of the first round. Additionally, I'm only now starting to get some freedom back due to my child getting older. He has said this is a deal breaker. He has backed off and told me I need to make a decision about what I want. We are not in a situation though where it is even easy to make up my mind as we don't live together, etc. And it puts so much pressure on me and I feel like me and my child aren't enough. I feel forced into having another instead of letting it potentially bloom naturally. I also had a really hard time with my child's dad, a lot of trauma and am petrified of being a single mother again if we don't work out, but this time being a single parent with 2 kids instead of 1. I also worry that he is so desperate for a child because of his own childhood traumas and that when he realizes how difficult it is, he may decide he wants to leave. What can I do to help make my mind up? Does it really mean we are not enough or is that just in my head? Please give me advice. If he wants a child of his own and you do not want to birth another child, you are not compatible. It's not about being enough or not. You also do not even live together yet. This is a great time to end this, knowing you have different stances on this. Do not bend to having another child just to stay with some man, endangering your health and your autonomy. And, frankly, unless you're very well off, having another kid will absolutely impact the type of life you can provide for the child you already have. You're not compatible, and that's okay. And it's also not some referendum on your worth. He won't commit after you have the baby either. Just a hunch. Please don't have a child with him. Never have a child for someone else that you aren't sure you want. I despise the bait and switch. He figured he could change your mind. He probably always wanted his own child. I feel forced into having another instead of letting it potentially bloom naturally. That's because he is forcing it. He said it was enough, so I am guessing both of you agreed to not pursue children, but now he's changed his mind. I also worry that he is so desperate for a child because of his own childhood traumas and that when he realizes how difficult it is, he may decide he wants to leave. That is a completely valid worry. Children aren't easy and will take 18+ years of parenting. In my opinion, I would only choose to have a kid unless it is your choice and without the pressuring, so no. I'm really sorry Op, but I think realistically, your relationship is over. At best, you aren't ready to have another child. At worst, you don't want another at all. That makes you two incompatible. Things might change for you in future, but that's irrelevant because as things are right now, you are incompatible. You both need therapy. Do not bring a child into this situation. How do I, 28F, keep my father, 58M, from crashing a wedding? Background info that I did not know until recently: in the Catholic Church anyone can show up to the wedding ceremony. Churches are open. Doesn't matter if you're invited. IDK how it works in other religions, but I hate this LMFAO. So basically, I am Mo in a wedding of my childhood best friend, 26F. I'll call her B for bride lol. We've known each other since we were 2, grew up together, blah blah all that nice stuff. The wedding is the first week of September. My parents divorced when I was 6. My father has untreated bipolar disorder, anger issues, and is a recovering opioid addict. Fun. Anyway, he is finally almost a year sober, which is really exciting. But IKYK. And if you don't, being around an unstable person when you personally are stable is terrifying, because you live in constant fear that something will set them off and start back at zero. Anyway, he saw my friend B periodically in middle school, maybe once or twice in high school, but now not in 10 years. He used to be close with her parents, because we grew up in the same neighborhood, but he kept the drugs and the outbursts and my mom kept the friends. Anyway, all throughout my life he's been hounding me about whether or not my mother, 55F, moved on. She met her current husband when I was 15. I lied every time my dad asked though because I was terrified of what he might do. To himself and to them. Anyway, it all came to a head last year when he found out she got married. He called me screaming that he was going to put the guy's head through a wall, etc. Again, fun. He tried to sue my mom for back child support, saying he wouldn't have paid it if he knew she had a boyfriend. So I didn't speak to him for months. Now, I finally have my dad again, and things are good. But he is very hurt that he isn't invited to this wedding, and feels entitled to an invitation. His daughter is the Mo. My mom and her husband are invited. I did not tell him that, but he assumed. He said he is going to the church to see me, and he doesn't need an invitation to go. For the past 2 months, he's brought it up every time I spoke to or saw him. And then made a snide remark of, well, am I even going to be invited to your wedding? I am not engaged. He assured me he won't punch out that guy. But I have been sick to my stomach over this. It keeps me up at night. I can't tell anyone involved with the wedding, because as he doesn't seem to realize it isn't my wedding. I will not do that to B or anyone else and burden them with my stupid, truly stupid, problem. Having him show up uninvited would be embarrassing to say the least. But it would ruin the whole ceremony and day for me, having to worry about whether he'll behave. I just want to throw up and cry. I've been so excited to see the most important person in my life get married to an amazing person, and he's just ruining it. I can't be excited. I just got my dad back, but barely. If you're worried about your father destroying your friend's wedding, then it is very inaccurate that things are good. If your relationship with your father hinges on not giving your father any reason to ever react badly to anything, then it's only a matter of time before that happens. You haven't actually gotten him back if he's ruining your ability to enjoy this joyous time with your close friend. You should absolutely 100% definitely tell your friend about your concerns. They need a strategy in place to handle the likelihood of your father showing up and making a scene no matter what you do. They should start by talking to their church about the problem. You need to tell B, if she's a good friend she'll understand and help create a strategy to manage him during the day. Preventatively the two of you could sit down with him and let him know it's a fixed guest list, limited seating, etc. so that there is no space available for an extra guests at this point. If there truly is a real physical safety concern, then it may be worth hiring security for the day. They can go undercover and dress as another wedding guest. Honestly, your mom and or her husband should have a restraining order against your dad. And you should drill down that this day isn't about anyone but your best friend and her fiancé. And remind him that he has never met this dude. Churches are open, but can you have a big menacing bouncer? Discourage him from coming in? You should give a heads up to the bride and groom, because you don't want them to be unprepared if he does show up. Does he even know when and where? Does he have a friend who can bring him camping or fishing hours away? Tell your friend for sure. And consider stepping down from the wedding party, then you won't have a reason to go. Personally, I'd get a PPO. Then he legally couldn't go. 28 female. Need help on how to get over my husband's 30M infidelity. It's been well over 14 months now that my husband drunkenly came home and I found messages between him and a coworker sexting each other. Let me preface this by saying I never check his phone, I never felt the need to. But a friend he was out with texted him checking to see if he got back safely. And I responded to his friend saying who I was and that my husband was safe. Out of habit I swiped the screen, and it went to all messages. I was about to lock the screen when I noticed he had messages with her. Curiosity got the best of me, cause like what would you be talking to your female coworker about at 1 in the morning? And in that instance it felt like my whole world came crashing down. In the almost 6 years that we have been together, half of those married. Within that time he would accuse me of cheating. As I'm in the Navy and he would say that no one in the Navy is faithful, and that people have sex on the boat all the time. I would always say that isn't fair to say because male spouses are just as guilty of being unfaithful, and he would always say how he knows how guys think. After all this I found old pictures and old text messages with other girls. When the entire time he would give me shit about keeping things. And he would accuse me of talking to other men about our relationship, when honestly I've always been embarrassed about my relationship. So giving anyone insight on it is just not it. But I then found him messaging an online girl we played online games with about how I'm just a shit partner, untrustworthy, and how I'm never satisfied. I guess always trying to communicate is complaining. Anyhow, coming to the present day, I find myself continuously giving jabs at him. I'm mentally and emotionally just not over what happened. I want to be. I really want to be. I just look at myself in the mirror, and I don't recognize this person looking back at me. I just sit and cry. Like no one thinks of these things happening to them. How do you prepare for things like this? Yes, things much worse could have happened. Absolutely. So why am I so sensitive to this shit? I've read from multiple people that either give the, don't stay if you can't get over what happened, or the, if you're going to stay, then you need to stop bringing it up. And I'm torn between these two. I just want to feel like a person again. Not like a shell of a person. What can I do? What are things you guys have done? When your whole relationship was all you really were. I've done marriage counseling but he always wants to pick someone religious. Ever since the incident he has become a more religious individual. It just isn't my thing. He just likes to spin into religion when it seems to suit him. What I mean is he isn't a devout religious person until he gets into his head about how shit of a partner he is. Then it's, God this, God that. Very Bible thumper when it's in his favor. I personally was raised in the negative aspects of religion. It just isn't for me. I started taking anxiety meds. I started more hobbies to keep my mind off it all, crocheting, sewing, plants, reading. But all I end up doing is self-deprecate and feel so fake as a person. Like who the fuck am I? I need to learn other ways people have been able to discover themselves after shitty events in their lives. JFC. Leave him. Basically, he's been projecting all this time, putting his actions on you. He doesn't sound like someone I would want to be with, that's for sure. Why are you trying to get over it? You should leave and get over him. You deserve better. I have lived this hell. My husband cheated after 16 years married, 18 together. I found out through his phone as well. I actually experienced seeing red. I tried to get over it, but I couldn't. He also tried to make it about religion, traditional roles. I'm telling you, sometimes people can't get over it. Your life will never be the same. Just get a divorce. Do you have kids? Doesn't matter. Get a divorce. You're still in the Navy? Get a divorce. Get stationed someplace awesome. Work on yourself and feel joy again. It's hard for a little bit, but it's incredibly fulfilling after a few months. Good luck. Basic training, my friend. When your ship is attacked, and everyone and everything around you is chaos, training kicks in. You put the fear and despair aside, and you take action. You can do this, because your body knows what to do. This is an attack, and a betrayal to boot. You were doing all of it right, and he's still doing all of it wrong. It is definitely not how you treat someone you love, it's how you run a con game. So what you do, is forcibly take back what's yours. Your self-respect, your sense of value and dignity. It does not belong in his possession. Put the emotion aside for a bit, and take action. Feelings can be sorted out once you're safe and sound. Do whatever you can to make you proud of you. It sounds like this wasn't the first incident of him cheating. A lot of cheaters project, hence him accusing you of cheating throughout your relationship and marriage. And him saying, that's just how men think, is a cue for that's how he thinks. Not all men think that way, and I guarantee you he used that logic to cheat on you. If I were you, I wouldn't get over it. Has he even genuinely apologized or done anything to build your trust back? It sounds like any time you bring the subject up he throws religion into it as a deflection. I would leave, sis. Your husband doesn't love or respect you. My 31F husband, 31M, hid that he failed out of school. This is a wall of text, my apologies. I would be incredibly grateful if someone could please read it. Context. I'm 31F and he's 31M. We dated, were engaged for 5.5 years and have been married for 6 years. Prelude. I'll start out by saying that my husband was severely neglected and abused growing up. He was a late-diagnosed individual with ADHD and has recently begun to realize that he may have borderline personality disorder. His coping mechanisms are poor, living paycheck to paycheck because he spends his money and can't save up, lying and concealing his behaviors, and smoking weed and using nicotine secretively. However, he has always maintained a part-time or full-time job throughout the time I've known him. I also want to preface that I was also late-diagnosed ADHD and was a people-pleaser that grew up in a religious household and didn't know who I was until my mid-late 20s. This likely exacerbated the issue I'll be discussing. He and I met in late high school and reconnected 2 years later when he reached out to me. I told him that I didn't want to be in a relationship, but he persisted in being my friend long enough that I fell for him. At the time, I was working my way through my bachelor's. He was in a rough situation though, smoking weed daily, barely finished high school, and living in an abusive home. Gradually, things got better and he moved out, getting a better job, and planning to get a degree by upgrading his high school grades. When I told him that I was moving cities to pursue my master's, he jumped at the opportunity and we moved cities together. He worked part-time while going to college while I focused on completing my master's. I begged him to get help for his mental health and trauma because it was leading him to constantly hide and lie about small things. We got married a year after finishing my schooling, so I started supporting him financially and taking care of as much life logistics as I could so that he could focus on school. Eventually, I told me that he wanted to go to university to pursue engineering. I was supportive of his choice and we picked up and moved across country so that he could transfer to a college program that would allow him to bridge into a university engineering program. He finished the program, earning a certificate of completion, and started his engineering degree at a third-year level. That was about the time I started to figure out that I hated my career. I continued to work and take on all the shared responsibilities for 3 years until it was finally time for him to graduate with his bachelor's. This was it. I could finally switch out of the career I hated and we could share the responsibilities more evenly. A client of mine told me about an opening at his company relevant to his field. He applied and interviewed for it. I excitedly told my family and they were ready to make the trip for his graduation until he called me and dropped a bombshell. He said that his required co-op hours were illegitimate, implying that I was the reason the dean was looking into it. I felt horrible but confused. So he was not graduating that year, and that he was being suspended from finishing his degree for 1 year. I helped him draw up an appeal but it didn't go anywhere. I was devastated but at that point so burned out that I had to quit my high-paying job because I couldn't take it anymore now. But something felt off. For a long time, I suspected that he wasn't being honest with me. I never saw him complete coursework, didn't see him go to class, and he didn't talk about school unless prompted. I drove him to a couple of exams in his last few semesters, but apart from that, I only saw him go to work. A year passes and I approach him about finishing his degree. He looked at me confused and said it was a 2-year suspension. I kind of lost it at that point, exhausted over the responsibility imbalance, paying most of our bills because I made a lot more money than him, and was solely saving up for a large down payment on property because his credit score was so low. I told him that I wasn't waiting for him to get his education in order and that I was going to go back to school to change careers, so I did. I'm currently working through another bachelor's. He resisted the idea at first but relented when he realized how much I wanted this. We moved cities again so that I could pursue my degree. He's had to take on more responsibilities and it was and still is very challenging for him. So 2 months ago, I came across an email from OnlyFans. My husband had been paying to see content from girls online, including one that really stung. 3 years ago, he had been flirting with a coworker of his. I caught him and I'm confident it didn't go anywhere beyond that, but he was subscribed to her. Though there was no actual communication with her besides viewing her content. Admittedly, I then snooped and found that he had been sending tips to girls on MyFreeCams, including paying to have the girls view him jerking off during group shows. I was disgusted. He apologized profusely, finally seeking mental health treatment, but I was done. We've been separated since then but still living together. He's been trying to seek help and has been admittedly showing a lot of progress in addressing his issues. He said he wants to become healthy regardless of if we stay together, but he wants more than anything to stay together. Then 1 month ago, I told him that I think he's not telling me the truth about his education. The next day, he said he thought about it and wanted to come clean. He told me that he dropped out after his first semester at university. So 2020. 5 years of telling lies and placating me. When he said that, I didn't even react because deep down, I felt like I already knew. He told me that he's immensely sorry and felt so much shame around failing out of the program and lying to me about being in school. I'm having a really difficult time and finding myself distancing myself from my loved ones out of sadness and shame. I feel cheated out of the life I thought I was building with him, but it's hard not to feel sympathetic towards him because of his upbringing and how hard he's been working on himself since this all went down. Apart from his issues, he's incredibly thoughtful and kind. He's my best friend, so I'm incredibly conflicted. Can someone please give me some insight? Too long did not read. Supported my husband through school only to find out that he lied to me about his education, secretly spent money on adult content, and has possible BPD. We're separated but cohabiting. He's in therapy and wants to repair things, but I don't know how to feel. Edit. Thank you, everyone. I may not respond to every comment, but I do really appreciate everyone that took the time to read my post and provide me with their thoughts. I'll continue to read all your comments. What insight do you need? You picked a guy who was extremely problematic from the start. He has continued to be extremely problematic. The insight you need is with a therapist, finding out why you accept this behavior instead of standing up for yourself. Being neurodivergent or having a personality disorder or a rough upbringing isn't reason excuse to lie. Which he's done to your detriment for 5 years. He's not thoughtful or kind or your best friend. These are not the actions of someone who is any of those things. Girl BSFFR. Do you have a line? Is there any point where you'll be done? He lied about school while you spent years taking on the financial brunt at a job you hated. He cheated. He seeks paid validation from sex workers. A loser from high school wore you down and has had you shackled for over a decade. Even separated, he's still living WU. Girl, if you don't stand up. He absolutely cannot use his past to try and justify this. Lots of people have messed up childhoods, and they don't deceive and use their partners for years. Years. This man lied to you. He lied to your family. He let you put effort into supporting an education that he wasn't even getting. Don't stay with him just because it's the easy option. At this point, it's not even the easy option. You don't want to be constantly haunted by the betrayal of this, and he's hardly contributing as it is. You need to leave and focus on loving and healing yourself. I have nothing to say. The fact that you haven't started the divorce process shows that you'll never leave. This man lied for 5 years, not a little, a huge lie. This is the kind of guy who has whole-ass secret families behind their wives' back.